Well, welcome to Focus Today. I'm your host, Perry Atkinson, and what a delight, always a delight to have in the studio with us our good friend Doug Gould. He's the Executive Director of Foundations for Recovery, one of the most unique addiction recovery ministries, organization, outreaches in the country, right here in Southern Oregon. Can't say enough about what they do and how they go about it. So, Doug, good to see you, buddy.
Thanks, Perry. Thanks for having me on.
His own testimony is phenomenal. You know, listen, a little on a personal note.
Okay.
I know you don't mind talking about it.
Sure.
But you've come through alcoholism, and then that whole experience and thing, God used you to head up this ministry.
Absolutely.
And it's a mentoring ministry. You'll get into that. But God spoke to you about, what, 8 months ago? 10 months ago?
Yeah, January 15th was the day. It was the Thursday.
And tell us that story real quick.
It was, you know, I was pushing 400 pounds and went through some difficult things personally, and found that I was finding comfort and some false sense of security in food. And I've always been, you know, a large kid. But you know, it was funny because I was actually in my office talking with a young man who was battling heroin addiction. And I kid you not, Perry, anything I said to this young man, I heard the Holy Spirit say right directly back to me about my food. And so I couldn't get him out of my office quick enough. And so
he was there for help.
Exactly. You know, basically, okay, God bless, you know, let's have prayer, get out of here. We'll see you at a meeting type of thing. But I went to my knees there in the office and I said, okay, Lord, show me what are you trying to speak to me? And I started studying about Dr. Tim Clark's book on food addiction. I started reading about how sugar processes in the body, how it releases dopamine and that pleasure sensor in the brain. And I said, well, that's it. That's got to be it. And so I started using my own recovery program and focusing on a non-substance abuse type of a way. And started getting healthy, and so far as of today, I'm down 115 pounds since January 19th.
Wow. And you're still going.
Still going. You know, right now I'm at that plateau.
That hard
where it's
fight.
really frustrating.
Yeah.
But you know, just I got to keep with it because my goal is in sight, and going to be running in the Pear Blossom again next year. So I'm excited.
Well, I tell you, it's just been remarkable to see a man live what he preaches and practices. And
Thank you.
But whoever thought God would get you on the food side of things?
Oh yeah, exactly. You know, it's funny because at the foundation, when we first started our adult program, which we now have a program for youth as well, Step Out, Speak Out, Stand Firm, ages 11 through 17. But then we started getting into non-substance abuse, or non-chemical abuse, if you will, regarding porn addiction. Sexual addiction, gambling, shopping, shoplifting, grief, depression, and food. And so we're extending our services at the foundation.
All right, Foundations for Recovery is one of the most unique organizations in the country, and what they do and how they go about it. No matter what your addiction is, it could be food, it could be a substance, it could be a chemical, whatever your addiction is. And the way you go about it is?
The way you go about it is that when you come through our doors, we do an assessment. And we review your file, we pray over it, and we match you up with one of our highly trained, certified, state-certified recovery coaches. Our training that we do twice a year, and we're always looking for volunteer coaches. So if you're watching this program and you're thinking, you know, I want to give back in my own recovery, in my own life, you know, we've got another fall class coming in late October, but we are state certified, and we offer peer mentoring recovery coaching. And so when that I say young person, everybody's a young person to me. But
old is 10 more years than you.
Exactly. And so when they come in, we match them up with a personal recovery coach, and they meet once a week with that coach. And we allow them to set goals, what their sobriety looks like, their pathway to recovery, and if they want to use faith, which we embrace, we are there to help facilitate that.
Well, folks, and the real thing here is your percentages of success are off the charts.
Yeah, pushing about 60%. We're about 58% right now.
That's off the charts compared to other, say, state or county offerings, and so it's working very well. In fact, I think now the next thing is, obviously the courts are beginning to recognize what you do.
Sure, absolutely.
And it's just a matter of time, huh?
Yeah, it is, and what's really cool is the fact that other agencies now, since opening our doors in 2011, we were the agency that offered peer mentoring, and it's exciting to see that now peer mentoring services are offering through Addiction Recovery Center. I've got friends over there using it. On Track, Jackson County Mental Health is now offering peer services. Our friends over at the Compass House. It's just wonderful. Hope in a Future Ministries. It's wonderful to see.
Well, look, they have one of their big fundraising events coming up next weekend, not this coming weekend, but the following one.
Yeah.
And this is your number 2.
This is second annual, yeah.
And
this is number 2.
Tell us, this is, and let me just stop here and say something. It's, and I mean this sincerely. A lot of parachurch ministries and organizations do their fundraising in the fall. We are no exception. And I've always said, when you're supporting the Dove, don't take from your church, and don't take from any other ministry that the Lord has you involved in.
That's right, I agree.
And I want to say to you that I would rather you give to this organization than to the Dove. Wow. And I say that to Doug and to guys like Bud Amundsen over there at Youth for Christ, Kevin over at, with Hearts with the Mission. I know my secretary down there yelling at me right now, but here's the deal. I wish we didn't have to raise a penny. We just do what God called us to do.
I know.
And this is the humility part of what we do.
Yes. Yes.
And it's an interesting thing, but I can't say enough about these parachurch ministries and what they're doing, and Doug is doing that. So get out and support this and tell us about it.
Well, it's really cool because the foundation, we want to embrace the local churches, and we want the churches to know that if you have people within your own congregation that are suffering in the grip of addiction, sometimes we don't know where to turn or what to do or what to say. We want to let the churches know that we are there to help support you. We don't want to take, again, I agree with you wholeheartedly, Perry, that we don't want to take away from other churches. And so we have decided, and a lot of people don't know this, and I continue to echo it as a director, but we don't charge for our services. We are completely funded by faith. Faith that people see what we do on a daily basis through churches, businesses, local support. And so we have decided to not only do an annual fundraiser, but also to do it in a way to put a positive face on recovery. Those who are caught in the grip of addiction, we face shame and guilt all day long. Because we've broken a trust with family members and friends and so forth. And one of the things that keeps people who are in addiction out there and not coming back is the fact of fear of failure. They've done it before. Well, we want people to know that, we embrace relapse. We can teach from it. We can educate through it. Our business cards even say relapse doesn't have to happen. And my point is that if relapse does happen, it doesn't have to be permanent. And so we want the community to know, and so we put together this recovery festival to put a positive face on recovery. And it's next Friday and Saturday. It kicks off on Friday night with a home run derby contest between the Central Point Police Department, the Medford Police Department, District 3 and District 5 Fire. And 4 members of each team are going to participate in 4 rounds. We got free hot dogs and drinks for the first 1,000 people that come through the gate. It's free admission. We are going to be doing a silent auction and raffle prizes, things of that nature, to help raise funding. And then on Saturday, the whole day event from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. is our festival. We have recovery booths coming in, setting up their informational tables. But during the festival, we have the Guns and Hoses softball tournament. So this is the Police Against the Fire. It's Guns and Hoses 2. Last year, District 3, Dan Peterson, Battalion Chief, their team won 23-19.
So the rivalry's on.
Oh, it is, and it's so fun. But anyway, there's going to be 4 games set for that day. And then we have Christian bands coming in. Nail is coming in. New City, Christian rappers coming in. And then we also have Spartan Gym, Troy's group from Spartan Gym coming in to do
really?
Exhibition boxing.
Wow.
And rumor has it, I may get in the ring. $20, you can get 1 minute to pound on me if you like. And a lot of my participants want to do that. So, But
$20 to beat you up.
But we have great sponsors. You know, I got to give a shout out to Belfort, Bobbio's, Southern Oregon Media, Mobile Care, and Southern Oregon Subaru. The guys over at Belfort and Bobbio's, everyone. We just have wonderful supporters putting this thing together. And I told my recovery coaches, Perry, there's nothing spiritual about a softball game.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I don't know.
But here's the thing. Here's the thing.
Yeah.
If I can get people there to the ballpark, so they can hear a testimony and a story of one of our participants about faith-based recovery. See, I believe in the 12-step program of Celebrate Recovery, Alcoholics Anonymous, and NA. But in all reality, it's a one-step program. And it's step 3. It says, when I turn my life and my will over to Christ's care, that's it right there. And so what we do is we embrace faith-based recovery, and I want the community to know that there is a viable pathway to recovery, and it's called faith. And so that's what we're going to bring to the ballpark.
Well, folks, I just can't say enough. And not only that, but what's so remarkable to me, as young as this organization is and the impact that it's already have, how much of the community is embracing what you're doing. I mean, look at the list of people that you've mentioned.
Yes, it's beautiful.
And this is growing and going. And so put it on your calendar next Saturday, Friday, Saturday.
Ian Church at Medford Rogues has opened up the ballpark for us, so it's at Harry and David Field.
Just remarkable. I mean, that alone is a big deal. So plan on going out there, checking out some of the games, but it is a fundraiser, and pray about what the Lord would have you to do. And I want to say to churches, Doug is absolutely right. He's there to partner with you, to help you. Pastors, how about youth pastors who are dealing with kids that are really got problems? Here's an incredible resource for you to partner with and to find out what's going on. And one other little shout I want to give out is this. If you've come through this in your life, whether you came through Foundations Recovery or God brought you through that addiction another way, pray about whether or not the Lord would have you to turn around and give your experience as a coach with Doug.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So how do they get a hold of you, big guy?
541-245-HOPE. 541-245-HOPE, which is 4673.
Okay.
And let me say, first of all, also congratulate you on Dove Fest. That was absolutely a wonderful event. And I got to tell you something. And here's the cool thing, is that we had a whole row of coaches there, but when there was an altar call given through Cutlass, there was a couple in front of us that both raised their hand for salvation.
Wow.
See, that's the key, Perry.
Yeah.
The Apostle Paul says, I become all things to all men that I might win some.
Yeah.
And I'm a firm believer that God doesn't take us through something that he doesn't give us an opportunity to give back to someone else.
Yeah.
Right? God never passes up on using a hurt in our life. And so that's what we do with addiction recovery.
Well, I just say it again, if you've been through this drill and the experience of it, and you know how hard it is, how difficult it is, believe me, God can use you in a remarkable way, and let me encourage you to get a hold of Doug. All right, again, put it on your calendar, Harry David Field, next Friday and Saturday, coming up on the 25th and the 26th.
Yeah,
it's going to be a lot of fun, and we'll keep you posted. It'll be up on the Dove website. We'll Facebook it around, do all those things that happen. And, buddy, I'm proud of you. Keep up the good work.
Thanks, Perry. Thanks for having me on.
All right, we'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Paulina, and I work at theDove TV. Did you know that when you support theDove TV, you have a profound impact, not only in our community, but around the world? It's your continued support that takes the inspiration and hope in the programs we produce and makes them available to the thousands of people who are watching these videos online every week. Help bring encouragement and hope to our valley and beyond by making a secure online donation today at our website, thedove.us.
All right, welcome back. Well, it has been a long time, in fact, way too long since we have had Bradlee Dean back with us. And, of course, you see his program here on the Dove called My War. He's the founder of You Can Run, But You Can't Hide International. This guy is an impactor. Yep, he goes on the campuses and preaches and holds rallies. He's all over the place. And, buddy, it's good to see you. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing good, man. It's the years are catching up to me in a good way, but I'm telling you what, I still have a lot to do. So all is well on my end. How are you?
Oh, doing great. Good to see your happy face. For those who don't know what you do, give us a little synopsis.
Well, we do high school assemblies, colleges, tea parties, churches, television, radio, you name it. We're a part of it because, in a nutshell, we want to be a part of the answer concerning our posterity because we see our posterity being subjected to everything and protected from nothing. So we want to be a part of that answer because we believe what God did for our forefathers, he'll do the same thing for us. So, again, we do all of this for the very purpose of seeking and saving that which is lost because we all understand, namely the 78% of the population in this country, that God gave commands, not suggestions, and we want to see him honored, and the way to do that is actually take heed to his commandments.
Bradlee, you do this, but the bottom line of what you're doing is bringing the Christian history of our nation back to the forefront, and what you're finding out is that the students love hearing it.
Oh, they do. Absolutely. The heart, the pith and marrow of our message is really showing them the price paid for the freedoms in which we have. And in the process of that, what we want to do is we want to teach them in the natural what we're teaching them in the spiritual. And if, for the most part, Woodrow Wilson, love him or hate him, he was right. If you don't know where you came from, how do you know where you're going? What we want to do is we want to show them true history so they can understand as to how to take the steps moving forward.
All right, let's get into some of this, Bradlee, because I know your heart, and I know that it's broken in so many ways as to what's happening to our country. And it seems to be right now, and I don't mean to be over dramatic here, but just to be at the 30,000 elevation viewpoint, it seems that America is now off the Constitution and we're in a lawless state, and we have a president that is acting like almost a dictator. How in the world are you processing this?
Well, I'm just taking it step by step. And again, I got to keep in mind what the Chinese said. They were right. It's a proverb. There's two different meanings to the word crisis. One's danger and one's opportunity. And I also understand that we're in dangerous times, but I also believe it's the greatest opportunity in American history to actually prove our God. And Harry, we need to keep in mind, God does not need a majority to prevail. He needs a minority to prevail. And if there is a majority, he'll break it down to be a minority. So in saying all that to say this, I believe that we can win the day somehow, some way. For the life of me, what I don't understand, in contrast to what I'm saying right now, is how 318 million people stand down and allow an administration to act outside of its scope of authority at every step of the way. We've actually documented the transgressions by this administration, which are to the equivalent of 1,063 transgressions of the Constitution of the United States of America. And had the American people known the Constitution and the price paid, I'll tell you what, they would not have tolerated a misdemeanor the very first week of this man's administration.
Is it ignorance or denial?
Ignorance, and I believe it's ignorance and denial. There's no question about it, because I think for the most part, I could drive down to the gas station right now, Perry, in my backyard here. I live rural, but I could just strike up a conversation and say, hey, what do you think about that administration doing a great job, huh? I'd probably get beat over the top of the head. But what's interesting about that, and again, in contrast to that, it's interesting, America knows that this administration is lawless every step of the way, but yet every weekend you go to the baseball game, you turn the TV on, you walk into a restaurant, and you can see the stadiums are packed with thousands and thousands of people. I believe more than anything, as Edmund Burke rightly said, evil prevails because good men do nothing. And I believe that this falls to the good people in this country that stand back and allow less than 1.6% of the population to destroy the country that they say that they love so much. We need to take responsibility, my friend.
Yeah, this brings up the subject of cynicism. We seem to have taken on a spiritual cynicism. I mean, to me, cynicism could be the cancer of the soul if we're not careful. But we're talking about what has happened and what they are doing. We are not talking about the opportunity that we have to turn it around.
That's right. And that's what we have to do. We have to put our feet to our prayers and actually act out what we say we believe, because faith is through a demonstration, and so is love. As a matter of fact, George Washington, he extracted and derived from Jesus, 1 John 3:18, where Jesus said, we're not to love in word, neither in tongue, but by deed and by truth. By this our hearts are assured before him. He actually coined the phrase from the Lord in 1 John 3:18, deeds, not words. And that's where the American church needs to get, and the patriot and the conservative. We need to get back to deeds and not just words and say enough is enough.
Is the slippage, Bradlee, from your point of view, is it a misunderstanding between a constitutional republic and a democracy?
Well, there's no question about that, and I'm really glad that you brought that up, because isn't it interesting, over and over, every president since Ronald Reagan has inundated the American people with the fact that we are a democracy, when in fact nothing could be further from the truth. We are a constitutional republic, and interestingly enough, when I ask people, just, questionnaires wherever I may be, are we a constitutional republic or are we a democracy? And almost without fail, people will recite what they heard on television, that we're a democracy. And I'll just say the Pledge of Allegiance for me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the democracy? No, to the republic for which it stands, one nation under my daddy, like it or not. And people need to understand that they are a constitutional republic, and we're ruled by law, an empire of laws, John Adams, the second president of the United States, rightly said, not opinion. And that's, again, what we need to get back to, is the fact that we are a nation of laws, and that lawgiver is our Heavenly Father of the Mosaic institution in which Jesus Christ himself fulfilled.
Wow. Let me just say to our viewers and listeners, first of all, a couple things here. His website, Bradlee Dean's website, is sonsoflibertyradio.com. Sonsoflibertyradio.com. And by the way, My War, you can see it tonight on the Dove TV at 8:30, right there in prime time, because we believe in what he's doing. Bradlee, it appears now that this lawlessness that we're in is moving us towards a conflict with moral law. So not only are we ignoring the laws of the land that are set in concrete by the Constitution,
yep,
we're now in conflict with God's moral law, and the Christian really doesn't know what to do.
Well, and see, that's what comes in. We have antinomianism in the church. Really what it comes down to is anarchism. And if the people, namely those that profess to be Christians, would read the Bible, you can see nowhere did Jesus ever abrogate God's moral law. Now, keep in mind, there is a distinction between ceremonial law, which Christ fulfilled in action, and there is moral law. Never did Christ ever abrogate the moral law of God. Read Matthew 5. Also read Galatians 3:24, Romans 3:20, Psalm 9:17, Exodus 20. I can go on and on and on again. But what's happened is we've had a lawless preacher or lawless priests throwing down a modern gospel, which is lawless. And if you ever have Ray Comfort on your show, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. That modern day John Wesley knows exactly what he's talking about, because he is deriving that directly from Scripture. We need to get back to the rule of law in this country, which, by the way, is the fulfilling of the law, is what? Love. If we love, we'll magnify God's moral law concerning crime. I want people to understand that there's very few in our government today, and we're speaking of corruption here, that are attempting to turn the American people at war with God. Read Micah 2 when you get a moment, and it's not a good place to put yourself. And what we need to do is just simply get back to what God said. Again, they weren't suggestions, they were commands. Get back to what he said, do what he told us to do, and I'll tell you what, then and only then will we understand what it means to have righteousness and peace back within the gates of the United States of America.
Let me take a quick break here, Bradlee. When we come back, I know what the answer to this is, but I want you to explain why the United States is unique. Was it divinely ordained by God? And the question there would be, who's God? We'll be right back with Bradlee Dean. By the way, his website, sonsoflibertyradio.com. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Paula, and I work at theDove TV. Every day we get letters and emails from people who've been encouraged, blessed, and challenged by the programs on theDove TV. But we couldn't do it without you. Did you know that more than 90% of our income comes from people like you? You can help us continue to bring inspiration and hope to our community by making a secure online donation at our website, thedove.us, or call us at 541-776-5368.
Okay, welcome back, and what a delight to have back with us today our good friend Bradlee Dean, and you can see his program. It's called My War. It will air again tonight. It's a series, and we put it right there in prime time, 8:30 tonight on the Dove TV. You can connect with him and sonsoflibertyradio.com, and connect with him there and see his schedule and perhaps maybe take in one of his rallies or his assemblies at schools. Bradlee, going into the break, were we divinely ordained of God, this nation?
There's no question about it. I live rural, as I said earlier, and it's interesting. Every spring, me and my family get to watch the farmers plow up the field and plant the seed. And during the fall time, when the harvest comes around, we get to see what sort of seed the farmers sowed. And it's the same thing with this country. 236 years later, 78% of the American people profess Christianity, and yet there are those that are attempting to brainwash you, to revise our history, as to get you to believe that we are no longer a Christian nation. Yet when we look on the Supreme Court chamber and we look at Capitol buildings across the United States, namely in the state of Minnesota here, right above the Supreme Court chambers, is a huge mural of Moses awaiting the divine law. And we see God on our money. We see Christian crosses above the heads of those that fought, bled, and died to give us the freedoms in which we have today. We go to the Liberty Bell. We see Leviticus 25:15. We can go on and on. We can go to the top of the Washington Monument in Washington, D.C., where it says, "Praise be to God" in Latin. All the way up the stairs, there's scripture references. There's just no question as to who we are. And for a better way of answering your question, I just thought I'd go back to the 50s to President Harry Truman, because he nailed this. He said the fundamental basis of this nation's laws was given to Moses on the Mount. The fundamental basis of our Bill of Rights comes from the teachings we get from Exodus and St. Matthew, from Isaiah and St. Paul. He said, I don't think that we emphasize that enough these days. Now, this is the kicker, Perry. Listen to what he said right after that. He said, if we don't have a proper fundamental moral background, we will finally end up with a totalitarian government which does not believe in the rights for anybody except the state. And let me put this on a positive, because it was John F. Kennedy that said during the 60s, he said, think not that your rights come from the generosity of the state. They come not from the state. They come directly from the hand of God.
All right, I'm going to ask you a big question. If you don't want to answer it, that's fine. But it appears now we're swallowing the bitter pill that our president is a Muslim and he is sympathetic to the Islamic agenda. At least his actions and even his foreign policy suggests that. Yeah,
there's no question about it, Perry. We know who he is. We see that he's entertaining America's sworn enemies within. We've seen this since the first week of his administration. And by the way, I have been warning the American people since day one concerning this administration that America, first and foremost, you are the law under God. And number two is you have the right to impeach. Article 2, Section 4, for the smallest of violations, even concerning misdemeanors. We can do this, America, but we need to get back to our Heavenly Father, because he is who he says he is, but we need to meet him on his terms, not to go to God in a way that we think is just going to be okay and we're going to get a pass and we're going to be accepted. No, we're to be about the work of the Lord's hands. We're to do it with all of our might, and he promised, just as John Quincy Adams rightly said, do all that you can do and leave the results up to God. I want to tell you here comes a little fatherless kid out of nowhere 20 years ago, and I'm shaking, rattling, and rolling the world by the Spirit of God 6 days a week because I want to please him. That's all I want to do. And if we set our hearts right, Jeremiah 29:11-13, he promised that he would answer. And Perry, don't get to the point where you lose hope, because we know that we need to tie a knot right now and hang on to Jesus Christ. He's not going to fail his church. He never has, and he never will. We just need to come together right now, because we can do this, my friend.
Beautifully said, Bradlee. There is a frustration level, and it's showing up in some of the polls because as we go into this election cycle. But it appears now that America may be waking up, finally.
Yeah.
Now, we can bathe in cynicism, or we can jump out of this and get in front of it, because the scripture says the weapons of our warfare are not carnal. Do you think the church is ready to pay the price to turn the country around?
I think the church is. I think what's happening right now more than anything is the line is being drawn, the separation is being made between the sheep and the goats, and you're beginning to see those that are willing to take it on for what it is and saying, Lord, what is it that you'll have me do? I'll do it. And we understand, just as you just said, it's not by power, not by might, but by my spirit, saith the Lord. But he is empowering his righteous to stand up and do this stuff. And keep in mind, the gates of hell shall not prevail against the church. And here's a promise for you, church. It was the Lord that said, call unto me, and I will answer, and I will show you great and mighty things in which you know not. We can do this in the name of Christ. As our forefathers, less than 3% of the population was being used as they were waving flags. Listen carefully, friends. 13 colonies and less than 3% of the population, they were waving the flags, no king but King Jesus, and appeal to heaven. And they did it because they called upon the God that answers by fire.
How do young people respond to what you just said?
They are lit. They know that they're being lied to like none other. They know that they're being lied to like no other generation. They're looking for leadership. And by the way, I didn't apply for the job. I'm just responding to it. But they're looking for leadership. They're looking for those that will actually stand up and follow the Christ through thick and thin. Look what's happening with Kim Davis right now. That's what America is looking for. And they're looking for people that are willingly sacrificing themselves for the good of the rest of us. But I'll tell you, just like Kim Davis and those that know the Christ, they know the power of God unto salvation, because like the fourth man, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, they didn't bow and they didn't burn, in whose name was proclaimed, because they didn't bow their knee to man, and they gave all praise and glory to the God of heaven.
Okay.
The Lord was.
Beautifully said, Bradlee. Now, let me ask you this. We're heading into an election cycle. How can you properly help us put it into perspective that we just don't do a knee-jerk quick fix thinking that's what we can do? We'll just put somebody in there that's saying all the right things. And I don't know, God knows all that, but the point is this. Are we prepared to lay ourselves down because the generations behind us, if we don't pay the price, they don't have a hope?
I am. That's all I know. I can't answer for anybody else, but I am. And I've been doing it for 20 years, and I have yet to see him fail us in any sense of the word. No matter what the odds have been, I've never seen him fail us. He's given us the victory time and time and time again. You know, when you look in Scripture, my friend, and I'm starting to get into the state of mind I'm always in every time we get together on Skype here, my friend, is the fact that nowhere can you find in Scripture the Lord being unfaithful to any faithful man or woman to God. You can't find it in Scripture, and that's what we need to start talking about. And I want to make clear, too, that we do need to correct ourselves. If you want to call it cynicism, you can. But we need to correct ourselves, and we need to meet the Christ at the cross. And once we meet him at the cross, that's where we find the power of God unto salvation. And we can't give what we ain't got, as we say in the youth movement, right? But the fact of the matter is when we get it, let's go out there and give everything that we have to the world. Because, again, he's never failed a faithful man or a faithful woman of God ever.
I want to come back, Bradlee, to you at these high school rallies and assemblies. When young people hear this, what do you think's going on in their heart? What do you think's going on? I mean, this is not what they're being taught. So, I mean, you are a direct contrast to what they're being taught.
Yeah, that's right. And that's exactly what they want. They respond. Truth demands a response, and they respond every single time. They know that they're being conned. They know how to work the teachers. They know how to work their parents. I can bring you to a school we just did on the East Coast just recently. Standing ovation, standing ovation, standing ovation. Every time I do an assembly or a tea party, there's a standing ovation. Now, keep in mind, that's not for me. That's called revival of heart. They're standing up because no longer are they dead in sins. Now they want to follow the Christ. And the bottom line is the students, if you'd like to go check them out, sonsoflibertyradio.com, go to the referrals, because it's not just the students, it's the teachers, it's the superintendents, it's the church leaders. And really what it comes down to is I heard an individual bring this to me, and I think it's of value and it's of importance that people hear this, that if we're going to bring the light, we have to endure the burning. But I'll tell you what, if you endure the burning, bringing the light turns a lot of people onto the Christ. And that's exactly what happens in public schools without fail. Thank you for telling me what nobody was willing to tell me. Thank you for crossing the lines. Thank you, Bradlee, for what you're doing. The teachers are in the back nodding their heads. They're my silent cheerleaders. And I think what people do is they bring me in, Perry, because they know I'll do and say what they've always wanted to do and say, but they can't.
So this isn't a religious gathering. This is a kind of a U.S. history gathering.
Oh, yeah, but we're having church up in there. I'm telling you, we are having church. And we ain't asking for permission from an atheist to obey God, my friend. We are not.
You are an unbelievable inspiration. Let me just say to our viewers and listeners, again, sonsoflibertyradio.com. And that is his website. Watch his program during the, this evening, coming up tonight at 8:30 here on the Dove Radio, or excuse me, on the Dove TV network. And then, of course, you'll catch it throughout the rest of the week where we fill it in with it. And we believe so much in what he's doing. Bradlee, I just know where your heart is. Love you, brother.
You too, man. Thank you very much, Perry.
All right, talk to you soon.
Talk to you.
All right, we'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Daniel and I work at theDove TV. You know, compared to Portland, Seattle, and LA, Medford might be considered a small market, but at theDove, we're excited about the opportunity to make a big impact right here in our community. And you help make that happen. Did you know that more than 90% of our income comes from people like you? You can help us now by making a secure online donation at our website, thedove.us, or by phoning 541-776-5368.
Okay, we're back, and boy, this is Ministry Day here today. Love all what's going on here. This is fantastic. Great to have with us our good friend Bud Amundsen. He is the Executive Director for Rogue Valley Youth for Christ, and I can't say enough about what he and his organization do for young people on campuses all over Southern Oregon. And I love what they're going to do starting, when is your auction?
October 22nd.
Coming up next week. And this is one of the fun things you guys do.
Yes.
You have this online auction that goes on for, what, about 10 days or so?
Yeah, 2 weeks almost.
2 weeks, yeah. And but first of all, let's get into what YFC is all about, what they're doing. And I'm sure you're familiar with them, but you guys are working hard. You're on how many campuses, and you're going to Grants Pass? Give us an update.
Okay, wow. Yeah, that may take a little while. We've got 4 Campus Life Youth Centers, and they're in Gould Hill, Eagle Point, Phoenix, and Talent School District, and then North Medford. And then we have our City Life Community Center, which is down more in downtown Medford and focused on neighborhood ministry. We've got our juvenile justice program working with kids in the detention system, and then they have a mentoring program, and then we have our YFC mentors, which used to be called HATS, Help a Teen Succeed, and you know, we've got a bunch of kids in that mentoring program, and we have our teen parent, or our Parent Life ministry, which is teen moms, and things are going along great there. We are just, as of September 1st, hired a guy to kind of re-break ground in the Grants Pass area and get things going there, and you know, do what we do, and God keeps providing. And
it's just wonderful. The outreach is wonderful, and I can't say enough about, and I can't imagine managing all that. I mean, my head.
Oh, come on, Perry. I mean, you got your fingers in a lot of different things here.
I know, but you
so.
know, we get together and commiserate on the side. How much sleep did you get last night?
Well, I did okay. But.
Okay. The response has been terrific, huh?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I honestly, I feel a lot like Mr. Magoo, you know. I'm just kind of stumbling along, and God keeps putting things in front of me, and the organization, and you know, I have a tremendous board and great staff, and you know, things keep moving forward. Last year, we worked with over 2,100 kids around the valley. We have relationships with lost young people, you know, 1,278 lost young people around the valley.
That's the thing I'm trying to get our head around. I don't know if we understand the brokenness or the broken condition of young people in Southern Oregon.
It's, honestly, I mean, compared to national statistics, Jackson County, Josephine County, both of those places, it is horrific. Just the teen suicide rate is so high here compared to the national average. And honestly, in our ministry, we have had connection with 4 kids in the last 4 months that have taken their own life. And
what is it? What is it? Is despair?
Yeah, I think
no hope.
Well, there's a systemic abandonment of our young people. Oftentimes they're what I kind of have termed relational litter. They're the outcome or the product of a relationship that is no longer exists. A man and a woman, they get together, they're doing their thing, maybe even married, but then the kid comes along and the relationship breaks down, parents scatter. That in the context of addiction, they have, those parents have no capacity for taking care of themselves, let alone a kid, and so the kid is left alone in essence to figure out life in and of themselves. And added to that, we have a culture that is promoting destruction. You look at what is promoted to our young people as the cool way to live. One, it's
lie.
Absolutely, in so many different facets. But it's a focus on themselves and really, how do I feel good? And then I'm going to feel good by doing all these immoral things that destroy. I mean, God wasn't lying when He said the wages of sin is death. And these young people buy into what our culture is telling them will make them happy, and it's actually bringing death.
Okay, your faith-based organization, I say often, and I said it this morning, and I'm going to say it again, thank you for supporting the Dove. Don't take from your church, and don't take from any other ministry that the Lord has you involved in, and this is one of them. I don't want you ever to abandon what He is doing. In fact, dig deeper and support what they're doing. It takes a special call to be a missionary. It takes a special call to do what they're doing. And it's a missionary to broken children. And I couldn't do what you do. That's not my calling, but I certainly can come alongside and support what you're doing. And they have to do their fundraisers throughout the year as well. I know you have golf tournaments and you have all kinds of things, but one of the most fun things they do is coming up next week. And for starting on the 22nd for about the next 2 weeks, they're going to have an online auction. This is a hoot. Because, last year when you were doing it, and we'll do it again this year, I was tracking it on the morning show, and I pick out a couple of items just to see how they're going and kind of punch them a little bit. So tell us about it. What do you got coming up?
Yes, as you mentioned, the September 22nd through October 5th is our online auction where we have had not only tremendous sponsors, but also this community has supported the ministry by donating a variety of things, whether it's golf packages, overnights, airplane trips to do a round of golf and lunch somewhere. And we have I've heard rumors that there's some GoPros and iPads and just all sorts of really great items. And so the fun thing about the online is you can be in your pajamas and slippers and you get 4:30 in the morning if you're up at that time. You can click there you go. Click away and it essentially works like eBay. And so you're in there and you put your bid, and then somebody else comes along. You can see the username, but you're not sure who that is. And then you're bidding against those.
It's a lot of fun, and let me encourage you. You'll just have a hoot with it. You probably can go on there. What's the website? What are we?
So the best gateway is our website, roguevalleyYFC.org.
Okay. .org.
Yep.
Rogue Valley.
roguevalleyYFC.org.
Okay. All right, roguevalleyYFC.org. Go there starting next Tuesday.
Yep.
and you'll see the items. And for the next 2 weeks, starting next Tuesday.
Well, actually, you can go on now and you can check out what's
Oh, they're there now? Okay.
Yeah, well, not all of the items. We're still pulling in items, but everything's up. You can look at it. The bidding doesn't start until the
Tuesday.
22nd.
All right, so roguevalleyYFC.org. Go there and start tracking it. And I'll be on there, and I'll be kind of bumping it along the way starting next week for the next 2 weeks, because it's fun to talk about. But most importantly, as much fun as this event is, and you can end up with a terrific item that you can win or bid on and get, those proceeds are going to help what Bud and his organization does. And I want to say to all the businesses who support you, thank you. Yeah. It's an incredible endorsement of what this ministry does when you have so many businesses throughout the community and organizations that come alongside you and say, here, have this, do this, we'll support you there. And it just gives you an indication of what's happening there at YFC. And it's been going on for a long time, but you know what? It's getting bigger and bigger, and the demand is getting heavier and heavier. And who's going to reach out to these young people if we don't? If the faith-based community doesn't do it, I don't know who will.
Well, and the reality is we have an open door. You know, our focus on bringing the hope of, the gospel to kids through authentic relationships. Kids are desperate for that authentic, trusting relationship with a caring adult. And so we have an open door. We've got, 14 girls on a waiting list and about 12 boys on a waiting list for mentors. And
okay, let's talk about that for a minute. What is a mentor? What do you need there?
Well, mentors, we have you apply, and we screen you and train you and hook you up with one kid to spend some time. And kids are, obviously kids can be challenging, but they're open to having somebody care. And then we talk about sharing the gospel through what we call three-story lifestyle. Right. Very simple. You learn their story. Okay. And where God's drawing them. I share my story, where it connects with their story. And then I share God's story and what God's done in my life that relates to their story. Wow. And so instead of us telling kids how much they need Jesus, we're actually telling them how much we need Jesus, and that's the example that they can then follow. And so very simple, very easy, natural thing to do. And that's where last year we saw 123 kids make authentic, life-transforming decisions to follow Christ.
How big of a time commitment is this, Brad?
It's really up to the person, but we say, at least an hour a week. That's what's going to give.
And I've talked to people who have done that. They thought, well, I can do an hour a week, and all of a sudden they get emotionally attached.
Well, exactly, exactly.
And away it goes.
And it does go. And the thing, we don't tell, hey, it's not all about taking the kid to Dairy Queen or, some place that's
In-N-Out Burger now.
Well, yeah, In-N-Out Burger, right? Just bring them with you in ordinary life. And so if you're working in your garden, bring them with you. If you're building a shed in your backyard, bring the kid with you. If you're going to the grocery store, just bring the kid there. They're excited to just be a part of somebody's life.
It's hard to believe, as beautiful as this community is and all the things that we have here, that there is this level of need among young people. I think that's the one that puts our brain on tilt. And you said, as it relates to the national statistics, we're kind of high on that.
We're very high in terms of addiction, in terms of the suicide rate, in terms of the breakdown of families, all of that. These two counties, Jackson and Josephine County, are quite a bit higher than the national average.
Well, this just doesn't happen on its own. It takes funds to do it, and I can't say enough about what Bud does and his organization. Got a great team. Again, you can go right now to roguevalleyYFC.org and begin to kind of seek out the items that are going to be on this online auction starting next Tuesday. So you can go there now and see things. Probably a lot more will be put up over the next week or so. And then next Tuesday, the bidding will start. And when you see the quality of things that are on there, last year I looked at that and I go, whoa.
It's amazing.
It's some of the best shopping you can possibly do is right there at that website. And all of those proceeds will go to help win these kids and teach these kids and mentor these kids and meet with them on campus and after school, before school, and all the things that they do. I want to say you support them first, and I mean that. You support them first. So.
Well, the reality is, you know, it takes all of us in this community.
We're a team.
Yes, and want to make sure that folks are getting behind what you're doing here in a very generous way as well.
All right, RogueValleyYFC.org. Jot that down, because the next 2 weeks it's going to be a hot spot to be in Southern Oregon. That's the website. Put it on your browser. Put it on your friends list, whatever you do. Make it pop up first. Put it on your desktop so it's there all the time. You can check your items.
And be sure to click the links of our donors and sponsors, you know, and go check out their websites. And I got to give a shout out to Southern Oregon Subaru, who have gotten behind this in a tremendous way.
Thank you. See you next time.
Hi, I'm Jim, and I work at theDove TV. Every weekday between 6 and 8 a.m., our award-winning news and sports team bring you the best morning show around. It's live, it's honest, and it's a whole lot of fun. And you help make it happen. Did you know that more than 90% of our income comes from people like you? You can help us continue to air local programs that share your voice by making a secure online donation at our website, thedove.us.